I mean, look at him. He's sweet, sure. But would you date a guy who blends into the background of his own life? Mara said that into a live mic, at her own birthday dinner, with me sitting right beside her. There was a moment of silence. Then laughter. Loud, careless laughter. The kind that makes your ears ring long after the sound is gone. My hands were still resting on the box that held the custom necklace I designed for her, engraved with coordinates of the first place she ever told me she loved me. She never opened it. She leaned back in her chair, letting her wine swirl like she was swirling the whole damn room around her finger. Her voice rang out again. I mean, come on. I can't be the only one thinking this. Jose's the kind of guy who'd make a great backup plan, but definitely not a headline. More laughter. Even the waiter cracked a smile. I didn't say a word. Just sipped my water, my fingers brushing the velvet box I no longer had any intention of giving her. The worst part wasn't the joke, or the way her friends laughed like they'd been waiting to say it too. It was the way she looked at me afterward, like I should be okay with it. Like I'd already accepted this version of myself. The joke, the footnote, the placeholder. Later that night, when I walked her to her car, she didn't thank me for the dinner, for the bill. For the 3 weeks I spent organizing the guest list with names I didn't even like. She just said, "You need to do more, Jose. I'm starting to wonder if this is even worth it." I smiled. Not because it was funny, but because it was done. I had watched this slow unraveling long enough. It didn't hurt anymore. It just confirmed what I already knew. She never loved me. She loved the idea of being loved, especially by someone so easy to control. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that quiet men don't stay quiet forever. Not when they've been humiliated in front of everyone they once respected. And especially not when the woman who did it worships a man who just so happens to owe me a very personal favor. Mara liked beautiful things. She always said so, out loud, in public, like a declaration of her standards. "I don't care how kind someone is," she once told me over sushi. "If I can't imagine being photographed next to them, it's a waste of my time." She said it casually while scrolling through her feed, double-tapping shirtless actors and luxury hotel posts. I didn't take it personally, not that day. Back then, I was still trying to win her approval, as if love was a contest and I just had to work harder. We met 3 years ago. She was the face of a niche fashion brand doing a pop-up at a tech conference, a walking contradiction. Fitted, blazer, stiletto heels, cherry red lips, standing in the middle of 25 guys demoing software tools. While I was there demoing a new AI prototype, she was there promoting aesthetic synergy, whatever that meant. She bumped into me while chasing a coffee order she claimed had been murdered by too much syrup. Her drink splashed on my laptop. She apologized, quick, sharp, not too sweet, and moved on. I didn't even get her name until 2 days later when I saw her tagged in someone's recap reel. She was the most replayed frame. I followed her on social media, liked 2 posts, waited 3 days, commented on a third. She replied with a laughing emoji. That was enough for me to DM her. I offered to buy her coffee again, this time syrup-free. She accepted late at night after her second modeling gig fell through and she was bored. That was our rhythm. I waited. She allowed. I complimented. She half ignored. And somewhere in that quiet imbalance, we started dating. Mara never introduced me as her boyfriend, just Jose. She'd say it with a smile, as if it were a nickname rather than my name. At events, she introduced herself first, then me, if she remembered. I didn't mind. I told myself I was patient, that she was still healing from her last relationship, that she needed someone steady, someone like me. What I didn't realize was she didn't want steady. She wanted a trophy. Someone with flash, with edge. A man who could walk into a room and make people ask, "Who is he?" And I was never that man. I was the one who slipped into events unnoticed, the one who held her coat while she posed. But I tried. I cleaned her apartment when she was too tired, bought her flowers that matched her home color palette, because, yes, she had a color palette. Drove her to late-night shoots, waited outside for hours, always out of frame. I made dinner, booked her dentist. set reminders for her mom's birthday. Every time she posted a story and didn't tag me, I told myself it didn't matter. Every time she cropped me out of pictures, I told myself it was just her aesthetic. Every time she joked about how I was safe, I smiled. But safe doesn't mean seen. I remember the night I realized she never really saw me. We were at a gala. She wore emerald green, something that clung and shimmered. I wore black, clean, simple, tailored. I thought we looked good together. Balanced. We took a photo. She asked me to take another with her phone. Then she asked me to step aside so she could take a solo shot. That one went on her story. The one with me never saw the light of day. That night she got drunk and told a group of strangers, "Jose's like a boyfriend with training wheels, you know? Good for learning, but eventually you want the real thing." The group laughed. So did I. But something in me cracked, not because she said it, but because she meant it. She really believed I was a placeholder. And still, I stayed. Maybe out of pride. Maybe out of the sunk cost fallacy. Maybe because part of me believed if I could just be more, she would finally look at me like she looked at the people on her feed. But nothing changed. Not until the night she introduced me at her birthday party as the guy who gets me through. The boring parts of life. That was the moment something inside me stopped. Because when someone calls you boring to a room full of people, it's no longer a joke. It's a message, a warning to anyone watching. This isn't serious. I do better, and maybe she could, but so could I. 3 days after the party, Mayra posted a picture of herself in a silk robe, standing next to a man whose face was cropped out. The caption read, "He understands my silence better than anyone else ever understood." My words. It didn't go viral, but it didn't have to. Her circle saw it. Her fans liked it. Her group chat whispered about it. And I saw it too, lying in the same apartment we used to share, her side of the bed still smelling like the hair oil she used. I didn't comment, didn't text. I just saved the image, stared at it, then opened my browser and typed a name I hadn't thought of in years. Thomas Reyes. Her idol. The man she once said she'd marry if she ever leveled up in life. To most, he was untouchable, a big name with a clean rep and calculated silence. But to me, he was just a contact I never used. Someone I met 2 years ago at a tech culture summit. I'd helped his agency get out of a PR mess with a proprietary AI tool I developed. He said if I ever needed a favor, just one, I should call. So I did. His assistant remembered me. So did he. We met at a rooftop bar that week. He arrived with no entourage, no drama. Just a black hoodie and weary eyes. "Didn't expect to hear from you," he said, sipping something neat. I told him the situation. No begging, just facts. I didn't ask him to pretend or lie or seduce anyone. I just asked if he'd be willing to meet someone casually. Someone who had worshipped him from afar but thought she'd never be noticed. He raised an eyebrow. "And what do I get?" I smiled. Peace of mind, and access to something no other agency has yet. Sentiment coding tech that filters live. Comment sections by emotional tone, not just keywords. I'll install it on your team's backend, exclusively. He leaned back, considered, then nodded. Fair. That night, Mayra called me. First time in days. "You doing okay?" she asked like I was some acquaintance she hadn't seen since high school. "I'm good," I replied. "Busy." "You?" There was a pause. Then a vague, "Just thinking about a lot of things." I didn't ask what. I didn't need to. I'd seen the photos, seen the shifts in tone, the distant warmth that didn't include me anymore. The next day, I left a note on the counter, taking a work trip. 3 days. We'll leave the keys behind. No confrontation, no drama. I took a backpack, locked the door, and left. While I was away, she messaged once, "Don't forget to eat." I didn't reply. What I didn't expect was her next move. 2 days into my trip, I checked the security camera at the apartment. It pinged at 11:08 p.m., A man was standing at the door holding a wine bottle. Mayra opened it wearing a robe, same one from the photo. She smiled, stepped aside, let him in. She didn't check if I was watching, didn't care. Or maybe she did, and wanted me to see. The man didn't stay long. 15 minutes later, he stumbled out, shirtless and embarrassed. Mayra followed, threw something at him, a shoe, maybe. "Get lost," she shouted. "You're not even worth the wine," he begged, tried to charm her again, but she slammed the door in his face. I didn't even flinch. I just closed the app, set my phone down, and stared at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above my hotel bed. Not angry, not even sad, just empty. When I returned the next evening, the apartment looked untouched, but on the nightstand was a gift bag. Inside, a blue scarf, knitted, imperfect, the edges frayed like a beginner's attempt. I remembered once, she said she hated handmade gifts, that she found them cringe. And yet, there it was. If I hadn't seen everything else, I might have thought it meant something. A gesture, a reach across the cold. But I knew better. She wasn't giving it to me. She was giving it to a version of me that didn't exist anymore. That night, she didn't come home. Not the next night either. When I finally saw her again, it wasn't planned. It was at a private event hosted by a mutual friend. She arrived late, radiant as always. But when she saw me standing beside Thomas, talking like old friends, laughing about the industry, she froze. Thomas noticed her, then noticed her noticing me, and in the most casual, movie-perfect tone imaginable, he said, "You know her?" I shrugged. "We used to date." Mayra's lips parted, but no sound came out. She blinked, tried to reset her face. Thomas smiled. Small world. She didn't speak for the rest of the night. Just watched. Quiet. Like I'd switched roles with her and she couldn't figure out how, and maybe that's when she realized. The moment she thought she was finally stepping away from a man beneath her, he was already miles ahead. Already somewhere she couldn't reach anymore. I didn't know what emotion I was supposed to feel when I watched her freeze like that. Regret? Triumph? Nothing sat right in my chest. I was standing beside the man she once called untouchable, the one she compared every guy to, including me. And now that very man had looked her up and down, then gone back to talking to me like she didn't matter. Maybe it should have felt like revenge, like closure. But I didn't feel powerful. I just felt tired. Like I had finally climbed a mountain I didn't even want to be on anymore. That night after the event, I lay awake in bed, staring at the city lights reflecting on the ceiling. My phone buzzed once, then again, both messages from Mayra. "We need to talk. Please." I let them sit there. Watch the screen light up and fade, light up and fade. I could hear her voice in my head, confident, annoyed, teasing, the same voice that used to call me boring, soft, safe. Now that same voice was whispering across digital silence, asking to be heard. I didn't respond. The next day she sent a photo, just the scarf. On her lap. Captioned, "Didn't think you'd give it back." I didn't. She found it herself. Still, I couldn't bring myself to block her. I didn't want to talk, but I wasn't ready to disappear either. And maybe that meant something. Or maybe it meant I was still human. I went back to work like everything was fine. Built product specs, led stand-ups, ate lunch at my desk. But every now and then, I'd drift. Mid-task, I'd remember her perfume on my pillows, her earrings left on the bathroom sink, the way she used to talk in her sleep when she'd had too much wine. I hated it. I hated that after everything, she still had real estate in my head. I hated that I had done everything right and still ended up carrying the weight of someone else's disrespect. That even after walking away, part of me still flinched at the thought of seeing her name on my screen. I told myself it would pass. That closure wasn't a moment. It was a process. But the tension didn't ease. Especially not when Thomas texted me 2 days later. "Hey, you free tonight? I need you to come somewhere. I replied, Where? He sent an address. Upscale restaurant downtown. Just come. Bring that energy from the gala. I had no idea what he meant. But I showed up. He was already there, seated with a bottle of wine half gone. Across from him, Mayra, hair curled, lips done, wearing a dress I'd never seen before. I froze. Thomas smiled. There he is. Jose, join us. Mayra's eyes widened. Her hand twitched near her glass like she wasn't sure if she should drink more or throw it. I sat. No one spoke for a full 30 seconds. The clink of glasses, ambient jazz, polite laughter from the next table. Everything but our table sounded normal. Thomas poured me a drink. You know, he said slowly, I've met a lot of fans. Most are annoying. She wasn't. Mayra didn't meet his gaze. Her eyes were fixed on me. And for the first time, they didn't hold contempt. They held fear. I didn't bring you here to humiliate anyone, he continued. I just wanted to see something. Then he stood, tossed a few bills on the table. You two should talk. And, just like that, he left. Mayra looked at me like she wanted to say something that wouldn't make her look weak. But there were too many things to choose from, and nothing to cover all of them. I broke the silence first. You told your friends I was a placeholder. What's changed? She flinched. I didn't mean it like that. But you said it. Multiple times. She swallowed. I was wrong. No, I said softly. You just never expected me to be someone people look at twice. And now that I am, you want back in. Her voice cracked. That's not fair. I leaned forward. You humiliated me, Mayra, publicly, privately, systematically. You made sure I never forgot how beneath you I was. So tell me, what exactly do you want from me now? She didn't answer. Just blinked hard, like holding back tears was the last shred of dignity she had left. And that's when I felt it. Not anger, not bitterness, just clarity. The slow, clean realization that I didn't need to win anymore, because I'd already won. I stood. Don't contact me again. Mayra gripped the scarf on the table, like it was the last thing keeping, her tethered. Was any of it real for you? I looked her in the eye. It was. That's why I walked away. And then I left. The night air hit my face like a reset button. I took a deep breath, turned the corner, and saw Shirley standing. Under the streetlight, arms crossed, waiting, she raised an eyebrow. That went well? I nodded. Exactly how it needed to. She smiled. I'm proud of you. I hadn't told her everything. Just enough. But somehow she knew the weight of what it cost to cut the last thread to someone you once loved. Reached for her hand. She didn't pull away, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel average. 3 days later, I received a letter. Not a text, not a call. A handwritten letter slipped under my apartment door, folded neatly inside an envelope that smelled faintly of Mayra's old perfume. At first, I considered throwing it away unopened. But curiosity is a cruel thing. I sat on the edge of my bed and unfolded it slowly. Her handwriting hadn't changed. Still elegant, still precise, like her life depended on being flawless on the surface. Jose, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from right now. I probably don't deserve to say anything at all, but I need you to know something before it's too late. It's not about us. It's about Thomas. You think you've won, but you don't know him like I do. I stopped reading. My jaw tensed. I thought I was just his fan too. I thought I was lucky when he agreed to meet me. But it wasn't luck. It was a setup. You were behind it, weren't you? That dinner, that conversation, that night, it all felt scripted. And for a while, I thought it was romantic. That maybe you were trying to fix us in your own twisted way. But then I learned the truth. I flipped to the second page. Thomas was never interested in me. Not really. He didn't even remember me from the event I first met him at years ago. Everything he said that night, The flattery, the interest, it was rehearsed. He told me afterward, when the cameras were off, he said you made a deal, that it was business, that I was just part of your closure. Do you have any idea what that does to a person? I let the paper rest on my knee. My chest tightened, not with guilt, but with something far colder. I hadn't asked Thomas to pretend to like her. I asked him to meet her, to be civil. Whatever he said, whatever games he played, he did on his own. But Mayra wouldn't see it that way. To her, I orchestrated the humiliation she once delivered to me. And now the sharpest knife in her back bore my fingerprints. I kept reading. You wanted to teach me a lesson. Fine. Consider it learned. I was cruel to you. I didn't see you. I used you. And I deserve every consequence that came after. But Thomas used both of us. You gave him tech. I gave him access. You played your role. So did I. And now he's moving on. To Shirley. The letter slipped from my hands. I stared at the words again. To Shirley. That wasn't possible. Shirley barely knew Thomas. She wasn't into celebrities. She wasn't even the type to be impressed by anyone's spotlight. Still, I called her. No answer. Tried again. Straight to voicemail. For the first time in months, my calm cracked. I scrolled through my phone, searching for any moment I might have missed. A comment. A photo. A sign. And there it was. A story she posted yesterday. A short clip of a wine. Glass clinking against another, a man's sleeve in the corner. Thomas's signature silver bracelet. She hadn't tagged anyone, but I knew. I sank back in my chair, phone still in hand, the letter on the floor beside me. So that's what this was now. A cycle. A loop I thought I'd escaped. One betrayal replaced. With another, one blind spot now painfully lit. I had moved on from Mayra. But Shirley, I wasn't ready to lose her too. I waited outside Shirley's apartment building for over 2 hours. I didn't text, didn't call again. I just sat on the curb, jacket collar pulled up, watching the entrance like a man who'd finally run out of confidence but hadn't yet accepted it. The city was loud around me, headlights flashing, people laughing, doors opening and closing. Life going on as if my entire world wasn't twisting on its axis. At 11:43 p.m., she walked out, hair tied, up, black coat, that soft floral perfume I'd memorized without meaning to, and beside her, Thomas. He was laughing, casually, his hand not on her but close, too close. They hadn't seen me yet. I stood, not because I had something clever to say, not because I was prepared, just because I needed to know. Needed to hear it from her lips. Shirley stopped when she saw me. Thomas did too, smirking slightly like he'd walked into a scene he already knew the ending to. Well, if it isn't the tech genius himself, he said. I ignored him. Can we talk? I asked Shirley directly. She looked at Thomas. He shrugged like he didn't care, like none of this was real. I'll be in the car, he said. Take your time. He left, and the sound of the car door clicking shut felt like a countdown beginning. Shirley folded her arms. I figured you'd come. So it's true? I asked. You're seeing him? She sighed. I had dinner with him. That's not a crime. You didn't tell me. You didn't ask. I flinched. That's what we're doing now? Dodging on technicalities? I don't owe you anything, Jose, she said, voice soft but cutting. You made it clear I was a comfort project, the girl you ran to after your last one crashed and burned. That's not fair, isn't it? She said, stepping closer. Let me ask you something. Why did you really go to Thomas? To prove something to Mayra? To yourself? Or to me? I looked away. Because I've been thinking, she went on. Maybe the reason you were so calm during your breakup wasn't strength. Maybe it was calculation. You wanted her to regret. You wanted everyone watching to clap for your quiet dignity. But I saw your face when you walked out of that gala. You weren't proud. You were empty. I didn't deny it. And then you started. calling me more, coming by more, telling me I understood you. She paused. I believed you. But now? I think maybe I was just the next blank space on your timeline. That's not true. Then why does it feel like I was part of the plan? The question landed like a punch, because I didn't have an answer. Not one I could say without sounding like the very person she now believed I was. You said you hated being used, she said quietly. So why did you become the kind of man who uses others? The silence between us was brutal. Finally, I asked, Are you sleeping with him? Her expression didn't change. Does it matter? It does to me. Then yes, she said. We kissed. He asked me to dinner. I said, yes. We went out. And when he kissed me again, I didn't stop him. I felt something crack in my chest. Not jealousy, not betrayal, something worse. I had weaponized her without meaning to, set her up to be caught in the ripple effects of a war I thought I'd ended. In the process of proving I wasn't weak, I had made her collateral. Shirley watched my expression. So what now? You want me to apologize? Undo it? You can't control people's choices, Jose. Not Mara's. Not mine. I don't want control, I said finally. I just wanted something real. And this is what real looks like, she replied. Messy, unscripted, unfair. She stepped back toward the car. Do you love him? I asked. She paused, back still turned. No, but he doesn't lie to himself about who he is. That's something. She opened the car door, then stopped. You want to stop being the guy who always gets hurt. Stop becoming the guy who pretends he can't be hurt. She got in. The car pulled away. I didn't follow. I went home. I deleted Mayra's letter, blocked her number, archived every message from Shirley without reading them again. I stopped checking feeds, ignored invites, didn't respond to Thomas when he texted 2 days later with some smug line about hoping it didn't get too personal. I couldn't pretend anymore. Not to them, not to myself. I had become someone I didn't recognize. At first, I wanted justice, balance, to show that even the quiet ones have power. But I had crossed a line. I had turned heartbreak into performance, recovery into strategy, and worst of all, I had dragged someone honest into a game I no longer understood how to win. That night, I sat with the scarf Mayra made, the blue one, the one she never gave me properly. I burned it, watched it curl and blacken in a steel basin. On the balcony, flames licking at something that was once meant to mean something. And when the fire went out, I didn't feel clean. I felt scorched. Later, I wrote one message. The only one I didn't send to win or provoke or chase anything. To Shirley. You were right. I wanted to be the one who never broke. But I was already broken. I just hid it well. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know. She never replied. I didn't expect her to, but I slept finally, without waking up wondering who would betray me next. And in the morning, when I checked my email, there was a new one from a company overseas. Subject, we'd like to offer you a position. Attached, a contract, a visa form, and a note. We've seen your work. It speaks for itself. It didn't matter who believed in me anymore. What mattered was that I was finally willing to rebuild, without an audience. 3 months passed. Not a word from Mayra, not a sound from Shirley. And I didn't try either. Silence had finally settled in. Not the hollow kind, but the peaceful kind. The kind that lets you hear yourself again after months of noise you mistook for love. I took the offer from the overseas firm, moved to a quiet city by the coast, bought an apartment with big windows and no shared walls. Mornings smelled like ocean salt and coffee. Nights were filled with soft jazz and the gentle buzz of code compiling into something useful. Work was good. Not viral, not flashy, just good. Honest. Like me, finally stripped of every version of myself I had created to impress people who never looked closely enough to care. I didn't date. Not for a while. I wanted to rebuild myself without trying to prove anything, but the world has a funny way of circling back. One day, I opened my email to find a familiar name in the subject line. Statement request for Thomas Reyes PR. Dispute attached. Screenshots, comments, audio clips. Apparently, Thomas had a reputation problem now. Something about a leaked call, suggestive messages to multiple women, one of whom was married to an executive client. He was scrambling to scrub the internet clean. His agency remembered the sentiment AI tool I had promised. They wanted to pay, double, even triple, for help managing his crisis. But I had already revoked the license, quietly, legally, permanently. They begged for a meeting. I declined, and then I sent a single-line reply. Remind him, favors expire. That night, I slept like a king. The next week, I saw Mara's name trending again. Not for modeling, not for a new shoot. Someone had uploaded an old clip from her birthday party, the one where she toasted to me being boring. It was going viral. Some TikTok creator had stitched it with a now famous story titled, "The Man Who Married His Ex's Idol and Made Her Watch." The comments were brutal. Some called her arrogant, others pitied her. But the one that stuck was simple. Don't disrespect the quiet ones. They're the ones who write your ending. I didn't post that video. Didn't even know who did. But I didn't stop it either. I didn't block her name from my feed. I let it roll through, watched people discover what had already ended. 1. Comment thread speculated that she was trying to rebuild her image by reaching out to Thomas again. Another mentioned a rumor that he'd ghosted her publicly in a club bathroom. I didn't care if any of it was true. The point was, no one was looking at me anymore. They were looking at her. And not the way she wanted. Sometimes revenge doesn't come with fire. Sometimes it comes with silence so deep it echoes. A month later, Shirley messaged me. Not a call, just a message. I saw the video. Didn't know people remembered. You look good in that photo they used. Still quiet. Still dangerous. Stared at the screen for a long time, then typed back, "Funny how things come full circle. Hope you're doing well." She replied, "I am. Really am. Maybe next time we get it right. No spectators, no stage." I didn't reply, not because I was angry, but because there was nothing left to fix. The story had played out. The lessons had been learned. She was a chapter, not a curse. But I smiled, a real one. For the first time, it wasn't bitter. It wasn't forced. I went to the balcony, watched the sky dim into lavender shadows. A neighbor played soft music somewhere down the hall. I could smell someone baking something warm, buttery. And I thought about who I used to be. The quiet guy, holding his girlfriend's coat while she took selfies with strangers. The one who paid the bills, drove the car, booked the reservations, and never got a thank you. I wasn't that man anymore. I was the man who had been discarded, disrespected, then quietly rebuilt himself into someone people couldn't ignore. I didn't scream, I didn't post, I didn't lash out, I just lived better. And in the end, that's what crushed them. Mara? She got to watch everything fall apart, with no one left willing to save her. Not even the man she once swore she'd choose over me. Thomas? He lost the one thing that mattered more than fame, control over how people saw him. And Shirley? She'll remember me, the version of me that didn't chase, didn't beg, didn't fall apart. The man who let her go because love without clarity is just chaos in disguise. I went inside, closed the window, turned off my phone. No one would get the last word, because I already had it.